recording. Hi, everybody. Pen here with Yogacises. I have Renee Ravazzani here today. She teaches Acroyoga, and I met her in a group. So we connected, and I'm excited for her to be here today. And so share with us, begin with where you're from, where you're located now, and how you started your yoga experience.
Okay. So yes, thank you so much, Pan, for doing this, for inviting. I'm originally from Argentina, so there is kind of where I started studying yoga. First, I studied physical education, like I'm a physical education teacher, and I'm like really in love with the movement, like doing physical activities, what I like to do. And when I discovered yoga, it's like one of those activities that I always feel like already connected, let's say, without even doing it before. So I started love with my own personal practice. I started taking a lot of classes with other teachers before I started teaching yoga. Even though I was already teaching from the physical education, I thought that I just needed to know much more about this. I love traveling. So I've been traveling since like 2010, and yoga opened the opportunities for me a lot in order to be able to work in different places, which I didn't know that before. I mean, by that time, I never knew that yoga was going to become so popular. A lot of people had a misconception before that yoga is just for like older people. The only thing you can do is super relaxing, is super just to chill and stretch. Like that's kind of like what people in my environment thought. And then studying, I discovered like all this other part, not just the spiritual part, all the other more physical part, like the vinyasas or the acro part. I love the acrobatic, right? So when I was in Mexico, living in Mexico, I found the acroyoga. So I was like, what is this? I was like so blown away that possibility they're doing the yoga postures, from an acrobatic approach with other person, right? So there's kind of when I start with the acro yoga part in Mexico. It's like a big community there. It's really good teachers, and it's a super good like environment. The nature is like magical places, right? And after that, well, I started doing already from before. I was doing like a lot of from performance areas. So people started, watching how me and my partners we practice in the beach, and invited me to do performance. So I kind of did a little bit of that as well. But let's say in order to make some income traveling. But the teaching and the connection with the people when you're teaching, and being able to like transmit this message and give the opportunity to the people to discover also there is all this acrobatic part in yoga, not just the spiritual part, but it's super important as well. But sometimes people don't connect to yoga because they already think they had to be super flexible, or they had to be super zen, and I think it's just a different approach, and that's the approach that I choose to get more connected, to like make the people know there's this other part. It's still in other places that they don't know that it's this type of yoga, right? So now I'm living in an island in the Caribbean, which at the beginning was really hard because people was a little bit afraid, let's say, of this unknown type of yoga. But now a lot of people love it. So I'm trying to create like small communities so we all can. I do some classes, but because we have beach area, right? So we all hang out and practice in the beach and do some exchange. And there are some musicians they play drums, and we try to create like a good energy, between all of that. But just basically kind of to resume, yes, yoga opened the doors for me, knowing that I can work of something that I'm passionate about, and still I can have some income, and still I can travel, you know, instead of, I don't know, working in the bars or as a waitress. Nothing wrong with that, but just, you know, you want to keep doing what you like, right?
That's so true. That's awesome that you got to travel and, you know, make a living at doing what you enjoy. That's great. You mentioned a few things that brought up a few questions. So let's start with like, you know, you said with the music and everything, it's almost like a little festival, right? Like, you know, that's
Yes,
cool.
yes, I know. Now, you know, it's much more popular to find those type of let's say there's festivals, but they're like kind of wellness festivals, right? Or at least in my experience, I can say like now it's more to find them. Before, for me, it wasn't. Maybe I was not connected with the right people, I don't know. But I think now it is more likely to find, and that's awesome.
Right. So for people that don't know what acro yoga is, you got maybe do like a little intro about it, like what's the difference between like vinyasa, for example, or hatha yoga to compare to acro yoga, and like how many people are involved and what kind of poses like you would do.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, for the people that never done it, uh, Acroyoga is to work like all the yoga postures that you feel comfortable with, but you're always gonna work with somebody else. So it's like you're always gonna go working with the balance and like the exchange of energies. Let's say you don't really need to be like a super acrobat person, because you're not gonna be doing like flips up in the air right away or something like that. Something that you could do if you like, of course. But it's more about building the self-confidence and the trust, basically the trust to the other person, you know, knowing that they're going to be there for that posture, they're going to be holding you, they're not going to let you fall. However, we work always with the spot. That means somebody, let's say if the posture that we're working is between two persons, it's going to be one more person just being the spot and checking and taking care of the rest. And we're always rotating, okay? So a lot of postures involve 3 or more persons. But let's say something as simple as doing like a Dhanurasana pose, you can do it on top of somebody else's feet, you know, things like that. There are already a setup of series that you can follow, but I think the magical part of yoga is like how you can flow and how you connect when you're working with somebody else. So it's a lot of working. One person is going to be the base on the floor, and the other person is called the flyer. If you're going to be the one doing all the more flying postures, you can be on top of somebody else's feet, you can be on top of somebody else's shoulders, you know. But the dynamic that you can create with that person when you start building that trust is magical, that connection. And even if you don't know that person, but you're for the next 2 hours you're practicing, I really enjoy that connection that you can create with somebody that you don't even know, you know, and sharing that moment and sharing that experience. So at the end of the practice, acro yoga is known because you're always gonna provide a Thai massage, it's called. So it's kind of a way to give back to the person that was holding you if you were the flyer. But the massage is always gonna go 2 ways, you know. So I always try to guide. Sometimes we use tennis balls, sometimes we use like our elbows, sometimes, you know, not just a massage like a spa. We're not doing a massage like a spa. We're thanking for that person for sharing the moment with us and for using all their body strength, flexibility to hold us, you know, and to take care of us. I'm doing the both sides, but because of my size, because I'm not like a big tall person, I'm always more the flyer, you know. And usually the bigger persons or taller persons feel more comfortable being the base because they're afraid that the other person won't hold them. I let everybody start in the way that you feel comfortable, right? And as long as you start getting more comfortable with postures with the physical contact. Then we always go rotating. Nobody does always the same thing. You experience being the flyer and you experience being the base and how it feels to hold somebody else, you know?
Wow, that's I'm thinking a lot of like all the different dynamics because I'm also an occupational therapist. I'm thinking like in terms of people with gravitational insecurity, like afraid of the
Yeah,
heights or something,
yeah,
having
yeah,
somebody to trust that way they don't have to, feel scared to be lifted off the ground and stuff like that. And another
yeah,
thing I'm thinking about is the trust, the building trust. And if somebody's an introvert, and that could bring out more of their personality once they feel comfortable with that person.
yeah, totally, totally. It's a lot about the trust, and like I say, it's not just trusting in somebody else, it's trusting and self-confidence in yourself, right? Because it's not just about like, oh, I'm just gonna throw myself and somebody will catch me. Well, hopefully, yeah, but it's a flow. It's kind of a flow, a connection, that you always do with other person. And again, a lot of the physical contact that a lot of people might not be used to at the beginning, because you need that physical contact and knowing that it's not going to be bad intention on it, right? And that it's just going to be taking care of somebody else and yeah, and enjoy.
Right. And also this process kind of like when I was doing yoga teacher training, we did try a few of the poses, but we weren't like, doing a whole sequence with it. So it was
Mm-hmm.
like really a lot to consider, like in terms of understanding more of like the anatomy and
Yeah.
physiology of like doing yoga, right? So that's another factor to it.
Yes, 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 totally, totally. And you know what? That's what you're saying. Like when you're doing like something like yoga, you start having more awareness on how you move your body and how somebody else can move. But some people don't, like I said, some people don't come with no background. And when you are trying to do a flow and you kind of lose a little bit of awareness of where is right, where is left, where is, you're trying to give some guidance. It's funny how people can respond. Always the first approach, you're kind of I'm gonna always like an observer. Like I don't know how people is gonna react. I kind of have my idea. I kind of for my past experience, but I try to not give a lot of guidance at the beginning. I try to let them kind of explore a little bit more. Of course, around the boundaries of safetiness, but I really like them to explore and discover that they can move and they can move in ways that they never thought before, right?
That's cool. I like the dynamic of it. Now this brings us a question in terms of so how about like people who are pregnant, first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, the like modifications, what poses they shouldn't do, and whom they shouldn't be pairing up with doing the yoga.
Yes. So I didn't have too many pregnant people, for being honest, in my experience. But I believe as long as they have the okay of the doctor, they don't have any extra other health issue or something to be taken care of. We're just gonna be really careful in the way that you're gonna work with the spots, with the person taking care of them, and being aware that none of the postures are gonna be something that you're gonna end up pressure in the abdomen, because there is like a basic posture that's called the bear. You literally are in an horizontal position on top of somebody else's feet, and those feet are gonna be located in the hip area, right? So in that case, this basic position is the one that we are not going to do, because even if there is no risk, still you don't know, like if you're there in the horizontal position and for any reason you're kind of falling forward and your base is trying to take care of you and without having any bad intention is putting your foot on your belly. So I would say the pregnant person, we're going to work more in the dual postures, but more on the ground without a lot of elevations. That will be my advice. Or working in the balance postures that we do from the back, instead of placing the feet on the hips, we place the feet, let's say, on the butt, on the glutes, on the hips, on the posterior part, right? I will say a lot of careful to doing anything like inverted or upside down, because there are postures we do in acroyoga where we do like a shoulder stand almost on somebody else's hands, right? I would say to try to be careful with all of those and looking more for working on the posterior, lower level, not much elevated, or standing up. Balance, but standing up, that we can do that.
Okay, and also it depends on the person's prior physical activity level and how much yoga experience.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, there are people that even if they're, of course, they're pregnant, they have a lot of awareness of the body, how to move. They've been doing activity for a long time. So in that case, it's like really, the most important is that they can be aware of their own body and how they can move, right? And having that discrimination when something doesn't feel right, just stop it right there and don't keep doing it. So as you said, somebody with a lot of physical background, I think it is just going to be a matter of being careful how she feels, right? If something doesn't go as far as you feel okay with it.
Well, I was thinking food-wise, like not specifically food, but how long would you recommend people stop eating before going to a class? Because some teachers, depending on practice, say don't eat 3 hours before yoga practice. So for acro yoga, how long should you wait after you eat before you take a class?
Well, I would say like, no, at least an hour before, so you give the time to your body, to digest. And of course, try to do not eat anything like too heavy, on your body, because it's a lot of dynamic in the movement, and it's a lot of upside down, head down, feet up, or that's the positions that we're going to aim for if people feel comfortable. So yes, at least an hour before, and hopefully nothing like too heavy that will sit on your stomach for a long time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. So for your classes or trainings or retreats, you have more male students or female students?
I usually have more females. Males still feel a little bit uncomfortable sometimes, but I found that in this part, in this area that I'm in, the Caribbean part, when I was in Argentina, males actually, well, all this acrobatic part is more exposed, so I think people already feel more comfortable. But generally I have more girls, more ladies, more females than males. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So I think you mentioned in the email and on your website that you have a retreat coming up. Tell us more about that.
Yes. So I'm preparing. It will be like the second mini retreat I'm doing this year. So in this island is Cayman Islands, and live in the main island that is Grand Cayman. And I'm going to do it in the Cayman Brac, that is the other island really close to us. It's like a 40-minute flight. What it has the difference, this is kind of like the big city, even it's not, but it is like the big city. It still is like busy, it's where people have the big jobs, all the tourist industry. When you go to the other island, it still is really, really quiet. Like you can ride and there is no cars in the streets. There is only like one grocery store and stuff like that. But what it has, like the magical part of the other island, it has some really nice cliff that you can rock climb. I'm a rock climbing as well. I really like physical activity. And I have a friend there. She started her rock climbing company. So we're teaming up. I'm saying mini retreats because it's like a long weekend. So it's like a Saturday, a Sunday, and Monday. When people arrive there, well, I'm showed in the area. We are a lot a lot in contact with the nature, a lot with the ocean, and a lot with this beautiful cliff. So that's why I decided combine to do the acroyoga part with one day we go for a rock climbing and rappelling in the cliff. I found that is strongly connected for the people that is interested in these activities, because everything is about building trust. So that is basically the theme of the mini retreat. Self-confidence, growing your self-confidence, and building trust. So the last time I usually have people, mainly they live already here, but they work in this corporate business, and they don't actually take advantage of the beautiful place where we live. You know, that they never go to the beach, they're in an office, they never been to this other island, Cayman Brac, that is like 40 minutes away. So it's like an escape for them. That's the response that I have from the last one, and that's kind of, I think, is going to happen in this next one. So yes, I combine the acroyoga part. We practice in an outdoor area, and then we do one day with the rock climbing, the rappel, and of course, you know, I try to link it with like healthy meals. So I have a friend that she cooks there, so she's the one in charge. Everything is made there because there is no other way, you know. I just always, when I go, I take groceries from here. So if she needs something, I take all the groceries from here. And yes, yeah, I'm really happy because again, it's gonna be my second one only. I really aiming for that, to combine all the yoga part and the adventure acrobatic part. That's what I wanted to combine.
Wow, that's amazing. As you're telling me, I'm like visualizing it. I mean, of course, not the same, but I'm like, oh, that sounds so good. I so need this. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What else? Oh yeah, for kids. From what age? Like kids, how young do they start practicing this if they're interested?
Well, you know, the kids have all these playfulness movements already with them. They are like, you know, they still don't have much influence of society. So the kids will go for it. You actually have to be a little bit more careful to teach them more how to be careful. But here, actually, I have a nice group that I teach. Is like from 7 to 10 years old. That's a really good age I like to start with, because they already are like all enough, you know, to understand what it can be dangerous and why you should do this and why you shouldn't do this other thing. Yes, youngers, it's not that they cannot do it physically, they can, of course. Like, if I know people, not here, but I know the people that teach the acro yoga part with the youngest kid as a family activity, so the kids can learn playing with their parents, so they can establish this great connection through acro yoga. That's not the classes that I teach, but I discovered other teachers doing that, and I thought like that. Well, that's awesome. That, you know, for family gathering, bring them together, and all those stuff. Here, I recently, like I said, started just a group of 7, 8, 9, and 10 years old. I think that's have the matureness. They're mature enough, you know, to understand about what is dangerous, what is not, and they still have the interest for the playing and the games. You know, that sometimes as a teenage, kids start losing that interest. Sometimes, I'm not saying everybody, right? You know, because of technology, because they are more interested in other things that just game or physical game or playing. But again, I'm not saying that it's not possible, right? Just that's the way I work.
Okay, maybe at that time they're more aware of the safety and they can probably stand still for a little longer.
Yes, 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 yes. The kids love it. Kids love it. They love discover this way of movement. You know, looking the smile on their faces and the eyes wide open when they're trying something new. I love that. Yeah, it's so rewarding.
That's great. I need to probably incorporate that in my. So I also work in the schools with kids, so I'm like, maybe I can do some fun stuff with them, and they should like that. I'm doing it.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So partner yoga and acro yoga. What's the main the difference between those two?
Yeah, well, they are quite similar. I think it's just the kind of the term of, I think it's kind of just the term of the commercial way that it became known. You know, like there, it's not like in a specific date where Acroyoga started. Apparently there's like records from like ancient yogis trying postures with kids mainly, and actually they were doing Acroyoga. What happened is like all these all these movement and activities got like in a more formal structure, apparently, for what I know, when of course it touched people from this side of the world, you know, the Western people. And one of the first schools that started as teaching instructors is the one in Canada, or the one that I know, the Montreal School of Acroyoga. But at the same time, it was all the school being initiated in the States, and both of them didn't know the one was doing something else, right? So I really don't find a lot of difference, which is partner yoga and acroyoga. I think they're just kind of the same. The acroyoga just, it really has more like an acrobatic approach per se, and the partner yoga not necessarily. Yeah, so it can be more like a slower flow, or it can be less acrobatic, but you're still working with somebody else and you're still doing yoga postures with somebody else. So yeah, for what I know, from my knowledge, I think that's kind of what it will be.
Right. Thank you. Another question. So for in addition to the regular 200-hour yoga teacher training, so let's just say somebody wants to just learn more about it for themselves, or do the training to teach the style of yoga. Like what additional training or how many hours of training do they need to get certified to teach this?
Yes, so there are, like as I was saying before, there are like two different schools that you can do it with. They are through the certification of the Yoga Alliance, right? If that's what somebody wants to aim for. So one of them is run in Montreal in Canada, and it's like a whole month if you want to do the 2 levels. That's the one that I did. So you can do like the first level, and you can get more deep in your practice and in your teaching, mainly in the second level. So you already have to have, if that's the intention, you already have to have certain years of practice, because they will ask you, they have a really good organization, they will ask you to send a video about a specific flow that you should know how to do, about how you teach yoga as well, and other requirements. I mean, you have to go through that. There is that school, and there is like another school that was created in the United States, and I don't remember how is the name, Acroyoga something. Those are the ones that are a little bit more worldwide. They usually travel to do certain workshops and certifications in different parts of the world. But as well, I don't remember how many hours are there. It's really, really similar to what you do like in your yoga certification the first time, just that you already need to have certain years of practicing yoga. That's the difference. Both schools, they will ask you requirements. It's not like I never practiced yoga and I could just sign up to teach.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. It's because
Yeah.
of the more dynamic aspect of it, and you're
Yeah.
working with somebody else. So, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are my questions. So,
Okay.
yeah, anything else you'd like to add on for the listeners?
Well, I would say, like, if everybody to give it a try. If you have somebody that can teach you, or somebody that you can play with to try some acro yoga postures, you can absolutely give it a try first, and then decide if that's something for you or not. I always suggest people to start, let's say, with the basic, more acrobatic yoga postures that you can do by your own, like the balance on your arms or your headstand position. If you've never done it, so you can start feeling comfortable by your own. That could be like a good start, a good approach. And then when you do that and then you do it with somebody else, like, again, it's just magical. All the movements that you can explore and all the things that you never imagined that you will be able to do. So I also started running like a YouTube channel, but I'm offering like quick tutorials on how to do this. Again, my approach is always from the acrobatic part, because that's my background, that's what I did, and that's kind of what I want to share with people. And knowing that if you never done a headstand, you still can do it. It's not that hard, it just needs your practice. And that's it. I always say that's a great way to get into acrobatic parts of yoga, even if you want to practice by your own, or then you want to practice acro yoga. Like, start with a simple headstand and see how you feel from there. So if anybody want to check it out, you can find my YouTube channel as Renee Ravazzani. That's my name. I always share like quick tutorials. I try to do videos no longer than 15 to 20 minutes. So if you don't have time, you can check it out and give you tips, and hopefully that help to the home practice.
Yeah, awesome. So after this interview, I'll share your website link and your YouTube channel links, and then we have all that information down for anybody who is interested in reaching out to you or check out your video to learn more about acro yoga. So that's awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being on.
All right. Thank you, Pahe. So everybody have a good day and enjoy the Sunday. Enjoy the
Thank you,
weekend.
you too.
Bye-bye.